Hi again guys, and welcome to another special projects build, but on this particular occasion we're not doing a replica. We're doing a vehicle which could exist, probably never will, but is more of an homage to an existing car, a legendary car, and that's basically it. It's not a vehicle which needs to be real as such. It would be cool if it was. It's just a car to, as I said, pay homage to a legend from this particular manufacturer. And the car in particular is, of course, as you'll have seen from the title, a 22B version of the Subaru BRZ. Now, the 22B moniker, of course, comes from the Impreza. The 22B version is the homologation rally version for the road, legendary coupe version, seriously quick, very, very rare. And basically what we've done is we've made an interpretation of what that could feel like on the BRZ platform. So slightly different specs, but just a similar overall personality to that car. And obviously that only goes so far because this isn't an all-wheel drive vehicle, unfortunately, but still, that aside, it's fairly close to it. So first of all, we'll go over to the visual tuning garage for the setup there. And as you can see, we have made some visual changes. Then we'll go over to the mechanical tuning garage, of course, for the replica of that. Well, not exactly a replica, the custom build, I should say, of that. And then take it out to, of course, a racetrack. Now, as far as the visuals on this particular model, as you can see, we have fitted a body kit to it. You've got a couple of different options. I went for the more extreme one with the extra carbon fibre detailing, in particular on the side skirts and front bumper, but also, of course, with the reworked rear bumper as well. We have not fitted the flat floor because it's just not really necessary for this one. For the rear wing, I've gone for the special rear wing, and the Type B in particular. A very reminiscent wing to a classic Impreza, or a modern one for that matter. As far as the rims, we've gone for the very popular BBS RE MG rims. I've gone for an increase of 1 in size, because obviously you don't want them to be ridiculously big, but still a little bit better than stock, because the stock rims are pretty small on this car. As far as the additional meters, obviously you can go for whatever you want. I've opted for a boost meter and rev gauge. Now, as far as the colours of the car, you can't really make a 22B homage without having 22B colours, at least to some degree. Now, obviously being a Subaru, you're going to have blue and gold in there somewhere, and that's what we've done. We've gone for Sonic Blue Mica for the body colour. That's a pearlescent colour, as you can see, and that is the colour straight from the Impreza 22B. And as far as the rims, you do, of course, have a number of different options for gold. Now, the gold that I've gone for is, as you can see, a pretty strong gold. It's quite a bright, rich, kind of a caramel-ish gold. And the gold in particular, when we scroll down to it, is called Phoenix Gelb Metallic, and that comes, of course, from the E46 BMW M3. And we haven't painted the brakes because, being more of a production-feeling build, I've left those stock. So that's overall for the visual look. Pretty simple, but pretty effective at the same time, I think. And now, of course, let's go over to the mechanical side of things. Now, of course, with a custom build, there's a lot more room for variation, and also to make it work around power, weight, and PP requirements that you can set for yourself, instead of having to stick to a real machine as closely. Now, this car's pretty powerful for the PP level that it sits at. It is obviously a little bit heavier than a car would typically be at 450 PP when tuned, but still, 276 horsepower is not bad at all for the 450 PP level. Now, I've gone for sports soft tyres because, as we said just now, it is more of a street-based build. Likewise, we've left the brakes stock. You don't want those to feel too good. As far as suspension, you don't want it to be slammed, but at the same time you don't want it to be too high. So I've got the ride height on 125 on the front, as you can see, 135 on the rear. The reason for the discrepancy there is because this car naturally sits a little bit lower at the back, and that's to compensate for that. Springs have increased to 5 and 6 respectively. The dampers to 4, anti-roll I've left on 3, neutral camber, neutral toe. We'll come back to the gearbox in just a second. I've opted for the twin plate clutch because you haven't got as much power and torque to deal with, the carbon prop shaft, and as far as the diff, which As always, I would recommend adjusting for your own driving style. I've gone for the lowest initial torque to keep the handling relatively loose, the highest acceleration and braking to help with turn-in. As far as power, I'm running roughly the same kind of quoted power as the 22B, 276 horsepower. We do have an oil change. We've gone for the Sports Cat and the high RPM turbo, and then fractionally reduced the power down to 276. And then as far as weight, I've opted to make it a little bit lighter than the 22B, but still in the same kind of ballpark area. So I've gone for a stage 2 weight reduction and then added a 166 kilo ballast, which I've opted to put 16% towards the rear of the car to give it a 50-50 split. I've also opted for the maximum downforce, which unfortunately still isn't all that much, but obviously that's up to you. As far as the gearbox, obviously this is not a top-end build, it's more about acceleration and getting through the gears. So I've got an auto setting of 149, and then as you can see, gears of 3.4, 2350, 1775, 1.4, 1150, 975, and a final drive of 3.5. So that's overall for what I've opted to do to be an homage to the car. Obviously, as I said, it is a custom, so you can change things around if you want to. You don't have to stick to this by any means. But with that particular setup, now let's take it out to a track to see what it can do. Now, of course, the fact that, among other things, this is not an all-wheel drive car does mean that it will feel different, of course, to the Impreza 22B. But for Subaru fans, for 22B fans, and for fans perhaps just of the BRZ in general, I think you will enjoy this tune. The suspension is stiffer and more aggressive. The turn-in, though, is very good thanks to the diff settings, and it does feel like a much more aggressive, more precise and more track-focused vehicle than it originally did. It's very light on its feet, it certainly doesn't feel like a 1260 kilo car, and it puts its power down very effectively. It's a quick car, especially for the PP level, and so if you do decide to use this, obviously I hope you find it first and foremost a fun vehicle to drive, and being as it is PP relevant, maybe even good for racing as well. But that's it overall for this particular custom build. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.